So if you and your partner are in constant cycles of arguments, it can be really difficult to see a way out. And if you're like me, a fellow ADHDer, it can be easy to speak out of turn, and speaking before thinking can happen way more times than we'd like, especially when disagreements start to turn into full-blown arguments. So how can we get a handle on conversations and stop things from going from bad to worse? If you're new here, my name's Chris. I'm a creator with ADHD, and I help fellow ultra-normal brains learn the tools to focus, grow, and get stuff done. So before I jump in on what to do, I want to start with what to avoid. A lot of us think that good communication is about knowing what to say. In fact, if you look at so much of the relationship advice online, so much of it is just scripts. The key to great communication isn't about what you say at all. In fact, if you have an impulsive mouth, like a lot of us do, then the number one habit you need to build is to pause and to hold off on speaking. But even deeper than that, to hold off on giving unsolicited advice, period. So this may sound obvious to a lot of people, or even easier said than done, but it is crucial. In conversations, if your partner is having a tough day or upset with you, mad about the dishes not being done, forgetting to confirm the table at a restaurant, whatever it is, then jumping in with a fix, an excuse, minimizing, explaining, advice, or a solution will kill the conversation dead in its tracks. And even worse, cause more damage to the relationship. And look, I get it. I know that this can be easier said than done. I lived an entire life where I was the person who constantly tried to fix, tried to excuse, try to talk somebody into feeling better. But I want you to think about the worst conversations you've ever had in the past, the times when you felt least heard. It's always one of those things on the list that happens. So I want to hear from you. Which one of these toxic tools do you use in your conversation? You know, you may be thinking, I struggle with an impulsive mouth. It's not some automatic thing. Well, I want you to stick around until the end and I'll give you a solution to that. So what do you do instead of all of these things? Well, that's technically two parts, because there's the what you do, but equally important is the how you do it. The challenge in conversations is that if you are jumping in with your opinion and then you get a negative reaction from the person that you're speaking to, for example, your partner, that negative reaction can cause you to start speaking more. And what happens is that you get into a negative feedback cycle. And very quickly, those discussions can escalate into full-blown arguments because of this constant negative feedback loop. So what do you do? Validation. So validation is simply responding to someone by expressing acceptance of their thoughts, their feelings, or their experiences. And I know that this sounds very woo-woo and kind of therapist talk, but it can happen in loads of different ways. From, I hear you're upset right now and I understand that your situation feels difficult, all the way to, yeah bro, sucks, and everything in between. Validation is simply acknowledging how someone is feeling. And if you want to stop an argument dead in its tracks, validate. So let's look at an example. Hey, you didn't put the trash cans out last night, and now we're going to have rotting meat stinking in the garage for 3 more days. So here's what to avoid. Look, I was busy putting up the shower curtain all night. Here's how to validate. You know, that's frustrating as hell. And you reminded me 3 times last night. Hold up, I hear you say, why are you telling me to agree in the middle of an argument with my partner? Well, validation is not necessarily agreeing with what they're saying. You're simply acknowledging that they are a different person with different feelings, and what they feel right now is valid. So you can still validate what someone's saying without agreeing with them. So there can be space for disagreement later on. And even if you did want to offer some perspective, that's important. Leave a comment below if you want to see that in another video. But just know that validation is always the first thing we want in a conversation. So if we're not agreeing, what are we doing? We're validating feelings. This is acknowledging that what they're feeling is okay. You're accepting them as they come to you. You're essentially saying to them, hey, I think I can understand what it feels like in your shoes right now, and I get it. You're not saying, I've been in your exact situation, because we may not have been in that exact same situation. But we're able to maybe paraphrase a similar feeling that we've had. So for example, if your partner is feeling sad because they've been let go from their job, you can put yourself in their shoes and empathize with that feeling, even if you've never been let go from your job. So you can validate the feeling of maybe feeling rejected, or the feeling of feeling at a loose end, or the feeling of betrayal or shock. So I know that this may not sound natural. And if you have ADHD, it can almost be like, well, you can't expect me to think about this in the moment. My brain doesn't work that way. You know, my brain is constantly working at a mile a minute. So we'll dig into the how in just a second, but far too many details to dig into in a YouTube video. And that's why I created the ADHD Blueprint, which is an ADHD coaching program with the tools, strategies, and coaching directly from me. And it covers everything from focus to organization, emotions, ADHD relationships, and communication. And you'll also be part of our community of fellow ambitious ADHDers. So if you want to start living up to your potential and craft the thriving life that you deserve, then click on the link in the description below to join us and take the next step. So here's where the how comes in. It's important to treat validation as a tool. This is a muscle that can be practiced and developed. So if you think about it this way, if I threw a basketball to a professional basketball player, their muscle memory would be to grab it and to immediately start to move and dribble with it. They don't think about it in the moment at all. So why is that? That's because they've trained over and over and over. This is their reflexive impulse. With ADHD, oftentimes our impulse is locked into something different. So when our impulse kicks in, it means that our brain will jump in with our default tool that we have, which is usually one of those things that we listed. But if you practice a different tool effectively, then over time, you'll shift your default impulse from the ineffective tools that we currently use to a much more effective tool. And all of these tools are important to learn alongside internal shifts in order to be able to handle conversations effectively. So make sure you subscribe if you want videos on how to internally handle conversations too. Thank you guys, and I will see you in the next video.